Hey, what's going on? And welcome to episode 14 of Fpl Hotline. I think, right? Episode 14. I forgot to check before we started, but yeah. What's going on? I'm your host, Matt Tomo, joined by Gasch and C4. We're missing Taz this week. He couldn't make it. Not sure why, but we'll do fine without him, I think. So how you guys been? Yeah, it's been a long international break. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in a little bit.
Yeah, it's been I would say too long of an international break because it was longer than 0 days, which is my ideal international break length in COVID times. It seems like you're always contending with injuries over the international break, and now COVID's busting in to give injuries a run for their money. So it's just bad news all around for FPL managers.
Yeah, absolutely. C4, what do you think? How you feeling?
Happy to be back. Hopefully this week the episode's better, because apparently last week my mic made me sound like Kanye West on Yeezus. But I think we're good now.
Wow. I'm upset that you just said that, honestly. I'm gonna try to move past that. I'm gonna try to ignore that. But I think you sounded more like Eminem on Relapse, if you ask me. But
I wasn't doing any accents.
Yeah, I'm glad you got your mic fixed. Sounds good. Couldn't really understand you last week. Yeah, so let's go check out the scores from 2 weeks ago. Kind of hard to remember what went on. Let's do a quick little recap of the last game week. Let me get the scores up here. Okay, so we had Burnley and Brighton drew 0-0. Southampton beat your Newcastle C4 2-0. How'd you feel about that?
I mean, kind of torn because Che Adams returned again.
Dude, I'm so happy with Che Adams. That's the best pick I made this year.
I hate that guy so much.
That is the best pick I made.
That's a little sad.
So we had goals from Armstrong and Adams, and Theo Walcott got an assist. Not sure if anybody owns him, but good for Theo. Man United.
Whoa! You're skipping through this way too quickly, man. I didn't know you
wanted to talk about Southampton. Okay.
I got the Matty Ryan return from the Brighton game. I mean, the man was benched last week, and now I'm going into that game week with all these thoughts flying around my head. And all of a sudden, he starts in the early kickoff, the Friday kickoff, and he gets a clean sheet. I mean, come on.
Love it.
KWP came in with the clean sheet too. I think I'm looking at a 9 on my screen here. I think he got all 3 bonus points as well. So he was, hammered that. And yeah, okay. Now I'll let you continue now.
And now we can talk about your Manchester United with a nice 3-1 win over Everton. Goals from Bruno twice. Cavani finally gets on the score sheet, and assists from Shaw, Bruno, and Rashford. So Gash, I'll let you talk about that because I know you're probably excited. Probably feeling better after the 1-0 loss to Arsenal the previous week. It's probably
I mean that game was probably the worst game of professional football I've seen in a long time. So I'm not surprised from Arteta's 5 at the back and chilling in the back and waiting for Pogba to trip Bellerin in the box. But anyway, the Everton game. The one thing my main takeaway from this would be Bruno Fernandes has not yet blanked in an away game for Man United since joining them last January. So the man has just been on, really, really good form. And for whatever reason, FPL managers find these trends of home and away sometimes that make sense and sometimes they don't. And I think this is one of the ones that maybe makes a little bit more sense. And the reason I'm saying that is because a lot of times it'll vary season to season of, you'll have, I think 2 seasons ago, Salah was a lot better away from home. Last season, Salah was a lot better at home.
Right.
This past season, maybe it was a deal because of the shortened break. There wasn't as much time in the offseason in between the end of last season and the start of this one. So it's probably the players, maybe that mindset carrying over. But Bruno Fernandes is always one to look for to captain away from home. And I actually have Rashford in my team now, and I'm thinking of upgrading to Bruno just on penalties as well. So he seems to be a more reliant point returner, and he got the assist to Cavani too, so he was involved in all 3 goals.
Yeah, great performance from him. That's all we've seen since he's joined. But I want to talk about that away thing. Do you think it's possible that COVID has a role in that? I know he played a few games with fans in the crowds when he first joined, but most of his United career has been in the COVID no crowds. So I think that could play a factor in why he's not getting affected as much on the road.
Yeah, it might. It might be also just the way teams play. at home versus on the roads. So if the other team, if United are playing away, so it's at some team's home stadium, they might be a little more compelled to. The home team might be a little bit more compelled to like play a more open game and attack a little bit more rather than if it was an away game. They might sit back a little more at Old Trafford. So I think that could benefit it. Off the top of my head, I would actually think that with that reasoning, that players like Rashford and Martial would see more of an uptick in away games because they're the players who like to run in behind and get on the end of Bruno's passes. But he just seems to, for whatever it is, it could be like the play style, or maybe it is the lack of fans, and he just thrives in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from him. He has been unreal since he joined. So it's just something to talk about with the lack of COVID crowds, which might be turning around as early as December 2nd. I read once England finishes up this lockdown, they might allow some supporters back in matches. So that'd be great. It'd be good to hear some real crowd noise again.
Once the vaccines start coming, then.
Yeah, well, they said that they would allow fans socially distanced, like the NFL did.
Cool.
At least as early as December, they're hoping. I think the FA submitted a report to the English government and was like waiting, something like that. I read it real quick yesterday, but it'd be great to get some fans back in the stands. C4, you got anything to say about United, or should we move on here? Nah, fuck them, right? All right, we got a 4-1 win for Crystal Palace over Leeds. A little bit surprising, I think. Bamford scored yet again. No surprise there. And then Ayew, Dan, and I always forget how to say this guy's name. The Eze. Yeah. Eze. He scored. Assist from Zaha, Eze, and Van Aanholt. So pretty big win for Palace. What are we thinking about that? Any FPL takeaways from that?
Yeah, I think that's Leeds' game. Is they're always just going to play a very open style and attack no matter what. So it just depends on how well the teams, on the day defend against them and how well they counter against them. And Palace did it really effectively, which we've kind of seen from Palace since the start of the season.
So do you still have Leeds defender, Dallas?
I do have Dallas. I started Dallas.
So how do you feel about that, knowing that like the clean sheet potential seems very, very low at this point with the way they play?
For a 4.5, I'm fine with that.
Still fine.
He scored maybe 2 game weeks ago, even though it was kind of a lucky goal. It was a cross that no one touched, and the keeper was expecting a touch, so he just let it in. But yeah, right. But as a
goalie, I hate those. But as a fan, those are always funny.
When I saw the replay, I was like, "Holy crap!" Thank God no one touched that. World class goal. But I'm fine with that because he's a defender I planned on rotating anyway. So it's you get what you get at that price point. He's starting every game, and sometimes he starts in midfield when there are injuries. So I can't really ask for more.
And he pushes up the pitch a lot. Yeah, okay. You're just not going to get the clean sheets, but you hope it'll outweigh.
Not as many.
Right. C4, any thoughts on that?
I think Gasch had it pretty right there with, that's Leeds games, or that's Leeds game. Most of the time for them, it looks like he'll work out in the Premier League. But there's going to be the 1 or 2 games every dozen that, the other team, they counter properly, and you'll get your 3-1, your 4-1.
Mm-hmm. But they know that. They knew that going into the season, that's what they were going to try to do, is keep their style. And we talked about that before, how much I think we all said we really liked that and respected that. So it's cool. It's cool. So, but this is what's going to happen every once in a while. Let's move on here to Chelsea, finally hitting some really great form that we were all expecting. Granted, it was against Sheffield, but a 4-1 win for them as well. Goals from Werner, Abraham, Chilwell, and Thiago Silva, and 2 assists from Ziyech and Kovacic and Conte as well. And then for Sheffield, we had a goal from McGoldrick and an assist from Berge. Any thoughts on this? How are we feeling about Chelsea? They finally put up a big scoreline, finally getting a big win.
This one pissed me off.
Why?
Because I think if you guys remember last week, I was talking about taking a 1-week punt on a player, and I ended up with Aubameyang. But whenever it was before the deadline, the last 3 names I had were Alba, Werner, and Ziyech. And made the worst one possible. So
yeah. I think I told you. I think I told you not to go with Alba there.
You picked the worst one possible, FPL wise and skill wise too. I have to say.
At least you know what, Chilwell looked nasty.
Chilwell did look good. Was he still on the corners?
I don't remember just how far he was in
Or
the
does
box was amazing.
Okay.
If you look, I think Sheffield scored first because then I was like, oh crap, Chilwell doesn't get the clean sheet. But then I think he scored the first or second goal for Chelsea. And if you look at the goal, it was like a back post run, so he was all the way up the field and scored that. So I'm really pleased to see that.
Yeah, I'm glad I brought him in for Trent just the week before. I brought him in right in time for that. And you're right, Sheffield did score first, but Chilwell scored the second goal for Chelsea. Not that it matters, but still cool. Okay, moving on from Chelsea, let's go over to West Ham with a 1-0 win over Fulham. Goal for Souček, assist for Benrahma. Fabianski saved the penalty. Former Arsenal man. Love that guy. And then the penalty missed for Lookman. We should talk about that. It was tough to see.
Yeah,
kind of funny from a neutral standpoint, but you really got to feel for the guy.
The thing I would say is that if you're going to try a Panenka in stoppage time to tie the game, and you're struggling for relegation, to get out of relegation, is you probably shouldn't be doing that in that situation.
Yeah,
especially Fabianski has a really good penalty save record, I think.
Oh yeah, no, he does.
So either Lookman knew that, and that just gave him even more confidence to try the Panenka, or he had no idea, and now he's even regretting it even more. But just if you're gonna do Panenka, make sure it goes down the middle, because if you put it to the side and the keeper dives, there you might have the situation there where he just saves it anyway, even though he's off to one side.
Dude, the keeper had time to get up, scramble it. Oh man,
yeah,
nightmare stuff.
Yeah, that's
awful. But yeah, it's nice to see Souček get on the score sheet. I know a lot of people were excited about him. I had him in my match day 1 or game week 1 squad, but ended up getting rid of him after. But he still has a decently high ownership, so I'm sure a lot of people are happy with that. C4, any thoughts on the game?
Well, I mean, as a Mitrovic owner, and his last week in my team, like when I read the news of, oh yeah, he didn't take the penalty, and Fulham still missed, and the person in first in our mini league had a West Ham defender, I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
that's like a 12-point swing.
Are you still holding on to Mitrovic?
Hell no.
Yeah, way too long on that train.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mitro said over the break, early on, that he was back to penalties for Fulham, and then he missed one in an international game. So it's kind of a problematic spot for them right now.
Well, I guess you get the miss out of the way in the international break.
Yeah, right.
You just missed the Euro too.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's right.
Poor Fulham. Okay, let's go to North London. We'll talk about Spurs with a 1-0 victory over West Brom. Harry Kane on the score sheet, assisted by Matt Doherty. I think is this Doherty's first return in a Spurs shirt? I don't remember seeing his name come up.
He may have had one or two earlier in the season,
but still, let me see real quick. No, that's his first return of the season.
I think big takeaway though was the swing in terms of captaincy. There was a lot of Kane versus Son, and I think did all three of us captain Kane?
I did.
No, I don't own Kane.
Anyways, just in terms of that vindication of Son blanked, we got that Kane return. Feeling pretty good.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Who was the other option we were considering? Was it Salah?
Yeah, it was Salah.
Yeah. Who has COVID now, but we'll talk about that. We can just talk about it now. He was at his brother's wedding, right?
Yeah.
Brother-in-law?
Yeah, brothers.
Just not wearing a mask and dancing up a storm. And I just saw on TV actually that he got a second positive test to confirm it. So that pretty much definitely rules him out for this weekend. And he is actually experiencing some symptoms. He stayed back in Egypt, didn't even make his trip back to England yet. So definitely no Salah this week. And the fact that he has some symptoms and that he stayed in Egypt, I guess he had no way of getting back to England if he was positive anyway. But the fact that he has some symptoms scares me a little bit long-term, looking ahead like 2-3 weeks. Could take a little bit longer for him to get back. I know just from the baseball world, a lot of baseball players had symptoms and it took them 3-4 weeks to get back to full strength and get back on the field. So that's definitely a concern for Salah as of right now. Pretty irresponsible by him.
What I would say too is that even if he like makes a full recovery quickly, I think the rule that they've been going with is that the soccer players get to leave and enter the country easily because they're getting tested so often. But that's as long as they are leaving and re-entering, like only doing soccer stuff in the time they've left the country. So I saw something that I think he has to make some kind of argument that his leaving the country was mostly football related. And that's when there's a video of him partying at a wedding without any masks on. He might actually have to
during the international break.
Yeah, I know, right? So he might actually have to quarantine for longer before he can re-enter the country if they determine that he's not allowed this special exception.
So he might not get the special soccer footballer.
So right. So
this could really be
10 days or something, 15 days.
This could really be rough for Salah owners. This could be tough.
Yeah,
if he had no symptoms and he was fine and he was just quarantining and he was back in England, I would say like, okay, I'll hold on to him. It's just 1 week, whatever, or maybe I'll take a 1 week punt if I wanted to. But now, it really throws a big curve in my plans. But any final thoughts on Salah, or should we move on?
Nah.
I mean, I think this segues into
the 1-1 draw against City.
That's not.
Is that what you wanted me to segue into?
No.
You wanted me to go into? Well, we got 3 more games. We'll just talk about it real quick. City, Liverpool drew 1-1. The COVID man Salah scored, assisted by Mane. And on the other side, Gabriel Jesus scored, assisted by KDB, who also missed a penalty. So could have given City the win there. You called it?
Yeah, in the group chat.
Did you? I must have missed that one.
He called it before, like when the penalty was already called. So it wasn't like before the game, like, it's KDB's gonna make a penalty. It was like, what? 30 seconds before he was like, I think he's gonna miss.
I think
I'll give it to him. That's still somewhat impressive.
Yeah, that's all right.
It is KDB we're talking about. Not really expecting him to miss any pens.
He just doesn't own him, so he doesn't want him to score.
Still got the assist though. So does that cancel out in FPL point? He ended up with 3 points. So not ideal. But yeah, Jesus scoring is good. With the absence of Mr. Aguero. So looking good for Jesus. What's his price at?
9.5, 9.4,
9.3. So that's an enticing option depending on the injury.
Him and Warner at the same price.
Gotta go Warner there. Then
why not?
If you're comparing, if you can make it work, if you have someone like Kane, and we're talking about like Spurs not looking too good for these next few weeks, maybe downgrade, save $1 million there. Interesting. We'll get into that when we're talking about your wildcard team. 2 more games to get through real quick. Leicester 1-0 over Wolves. Goal for Jamie Vardy. It's a Vardy party. You guys bringing him in? You guys looking at him yet? Because when he's on,
him a little.
Yeah. He also missed a penalty though, so we had a lot of missed penalties last game week.
Vardy's taken like 6 or 7 penalties, so he's got to miss one eventually.
Yeah. Can't fault him too bad. Any thoughts on that game? What happened to Wolves, man? I had higher hopes for them. It's still a good Leicester team that they're playing, but I don't know. They definitely haven't brought that same energy that they had last year.
Yeah.
And speaking of not bringing energy, the big embarrassment for me and Taz, if he was here, 3-0 Aston Villa over Arsenal. 2 goals for Watkins, the own goal for Bukayo Saka. Assists for Grealish, Target, and Barkley. 3-0.
Yeah, I gotta say the one thing I'm sad about is that McGinn's goal early on got canceled out, and I would have been another return for me. So it would have been really nice if I got that in there too.
Yeah, not like it would have mattered.
It wouldn't matter for me.
I was just really. That's the first Arsenal match that I've shut off before it ended in like a year, probably since the Emery days for sure. So yeah, pretty bad. We'll see if they turn it around next week. I'm sure you were happy with that C4 with Alba. Let's move on. Let's talk about your wildcard team, bro. So you taking your wildcard this week for sure?
Yes, sir. It's already activated. So
all right.
This was what I put together, I would think, maybe like 2 or 3 days into the international break.
Mhm.
So here's where we're at right now.
All right, let's make sure we read. Let's make sure we read it all out for the people listening. We got it up on the screen if you're watching here.
Steer and McCarthy in net. Then a back line of Target, Bernardo, Chilwell, Lewis, Kufal. Midfield of Grealish, Ziyech, Salah, De Bruyne, and Jota. And then up top, Brewster, Adams, and Kane.
Mm.
So,
So you made this. You made this. When did you make this again?
Like 2 or 3 days into the international break.
Okay, so before the Salah COVID news.
So I had a draft. Like, put it this way: when last game week began, I activated it, made a draft team. As soon as, there was something that made me bring. As soon as Jota started against Man City, I brought him in thinking, oh, people are going to think he's part of the starting 11 now. Price increase over 2 weeks might be worth getting. Same thing with Ziyech when he got 2 assists, bring him in, price increase. Mm-hmm. So I haven't really touched it since then, which is why Salah's in my team. Okay.
So let's start with your defense. Gash, you want to give your first thoughts?
Yeah. Well, just to go over the keepers really quick. I mean, I like it. It's simple. It's the classic 4.5 and 4.0, and McCarthy's a good choice. Southampton have been looking better the last couple of weeks. So no issues there, no complaints.
My only thing here is maybe changing Steer over to who in McCarthy's 4.0 counter.
Is it Fraser Forster? Is he 4.0?
Doesn't he have 2? Aren't there 2 backups that are like?
I think one's injured though.
I think that's why. If I remember correctly, that's why I stayed away from McCarthy, was because there were 2 backups. I just wanted like a clear cut 4.0 backup. Let me see.
Forster's one of them, I think, and isn't crap.
Button?
No, it's not Button. It's the guy he was starting for a portion of last season, I think.
Gunn.
Yeah, Angus Gunn. Yeah.
And
he's up to 4.4. So
he's down from 4.5, I think.
Sorry. Yeah, he's up at
changing my 4.0 counterpart to McCarthy. I don't want to change my goalkeeper. I think this is fine.
You like McCarthy that much more than Ryan or
I looked at the other 4.5 options and like no one's really that appealing to me.
But the problem here is that you don't have the backup. Unless you go with Forrester, but then if Gunn comes back, what are you going to do?
If I have to change my goalie, I have to change my goalie.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's so rare that you ever actually have to change your goalie. Mm-hmm. It still is a risk. But
it'd be nice to have the 4.0 counterpart, but not the end of the world.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the defense.
I would say the one thing in the defense.
Wait, let's just say it one more time for the people listening. Probably can't remember. So Target
Bernardo, Chilwell, Lewis, and Kofel.
Okay.
The one thing I would want to add to this somehow is Tellez. Now that it's confirmed, he's good to go. I think Shaw's out for an extended period of time.
Like 4 to 6 weeks.
So he should be starting, right? Unless, is that 3.9
He's got to be starting.
I mean, Brandon Williams would be the only. I mean, Brandon Williams or Fosu Mensah would be the competition, but I'd be hard pressed to see them start over Tellez.
I like Brandon Williams a good amount, but yeah, not over Tellez, not yet for sure.
The only thing is he's a righty playing at left back because there's another kid in the academy who is like his same age who played right back the whole time. So he kind of got shifted over there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only player I'd want to bring in. What do you guys think of my back line right now?
Is Bernardo has he been starting every game, or is he just
what's good with that? I see he's at 3.9.
He was injured previously, and then I think he only came back 2 weeks ago. So it remains to be seen. Like, okay, is he going to get time in the future? But then again, he's the only. I think there's only 2 3.9 defenders.
The cheapest, yeah.
So I'm not.
Do you have any money in the bank?
I have 1.7 in the bank.
How much?
1.7.
Okay, so 1.7 in the bank. Gotcha.
So I was thinking maybe either Kufal or Target to Tellez.
I mean, just looking here, Bernardo's played 25 minutes all year, and he's been on the roster since. Like he wasn't hurt or anything. He's locked in as a backup. It seems. So that's the only one I don't like. I like Target. Love Chilwell. I brought him in myself. Lewis, is that a bit of a hometown bias pick? Well, not
No,
hometown,
I
but
think
Newcastle
Newcastle has pretty good fixtures upcoming.
They
He
do.
locked in at left back for 4.3, so I think that's a pretty good deal.
Let's see. No assists or goals yet this year. 1 clean sheet. Okay, you're betting on those fixtures, which do definitely clear up after this week. They got Chelsea this week, but after that, it's looking pretty good. I just feel like you can get somebody better for just 2.2 more. Like you can get like a really solid 4.5 there.
I'd be fine with having Lewis as my 5th defender.
Well, Bernardo is your 5th defender.
No, I'd rather get rid of Bernardo over Lewis.
Oh, so you would upgrade Bernardo and have Lewis be your last defender. Okay, and then tell me about Kufal, because I have not heard much about him.
So this is one that I think Taz and Gash put me on. I forgot I had a different West Ham defender in there before. They're like, oh, switch to Kufal, or there was another name. I chose him. Yeah. So I chose him just because of price and returns.
I'll talk about him real quick. He's got 25 points on the year, and that's only since game week 4. I don't know if he had an injury or something prior to that, or maybe he just wasn't on the first team yet, whatever. Not sure. But he has 2 assists, 2 clean sheets. Got some points every week almost, looks like. So, yeah.
The thing is, he's playing as a right wing back in their 3/5 at the back setup. So he's getting relatively far forward. And on the opposite side, you have Masuaku, who is the left wing back. The reason why I'd lead Kufal over Masuaku is because if they do switch to a 4 at the back system, Cresswell is pretty much nailed at left back. He's playing at left center back in the back 3 right now, and Cresswell is the one on corners and set pieces. So if you have the extra cash to splash, Cresswell is not too bad of an option. But if you want a more budget West Ham defender, then I would lean Kufal because he's probably keeping that right back spot if they do go back to a back 4.
Both really fun names to say. That's my input.
I like that a lot.
So we say the feedback here is upgrade 1 to one of the 3.9 or 4.3 up to Tellez? Or is there any
I wouldn't say 1 up. I would say it should be Bernardo. You can't really make an argument for him, whereas you can definitely make an argument for the other guys.
I mean, he's a 3.9.
Yeah, that's the argument.
Yeah, but he's
for Bernardo
played 25 minutes all year.
Yeah, but he's in a
be playing.
But you also have 1.7 in the bank, so it's not like you're pressed for cash at the moment.
Well, we'll look up top, and that might dictate.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from, because you do want cash in the bank sometimes for playing future moves or just to have a little bit of flexibility. And I mean, how often? So many times you have your 5th defender as last on the bench. So if you're gonna skip out on something and maybe have just like 2 playing subs, then the 5th defender is where you do it.
Right. I'm just questioning it because C4 was a big proponent of having a strong bench because of COVID and everything, and this seems to be going against that.
When's the next international break?
Not so much.
No, a while, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, not so much.
I feel a lot better now. Like we made it, or at least I made it through the first 2 without having to use my wild card. This is where I can like kind of set in. And for someone like Bernardo or Lewis who aren't playing European soccer and they're just in England, I think that's a lot safer.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. That's really interesting.
So here's where things get interesting, and this is where I'm kind of looking at the midfield and the front line together. I think
read it again. Read it again for the listeners.
So, Grealish, Ziyech, Salah, De Bruyne, Jota, Kane, Adams, and Brewster. So I think I want to take Salah out for Mane.
Yeah. I don't hate that move with the news about Salah, and Mane has been kind of outperforming him, at least in underlying metrics the past few weeks. The only thing to consider with Salah is that if you did get him in at excuse me, at 12.0, he's 12.3 now, so you do have a little bit of cash tied up in him. But I think it might be likely he's going to drop to 12.2.
Why am I'm already showing him as 12.2 in my team, but then when I expand his details, he's still showing up as 12.3. So I don't know what's
when you go to the transfers page for your team, it shows the sale price.
Yeah.
So your 12.2 probably
I am on the transfers team. Yeah. Okay.
It probably just isn't updated because you should only be getting 12.1 for that sale.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay.
So making that,
I have Salah and Mane. right now, and I was going to drop one of them for KDB this week. So I'm dropping Salah, obviously, because of the COVID. So I do like Mane, though. Even without COVID, I would very strongly consider picking Mane instead. So I like that pick.
Apart from that, I'm ready to jump on the De Bruyne train.
Yep, me too.
I'm happy with that. Sterling, I mean, he did outscore De Bruyne in the first 9 game weeks or 8, whatever it was. But
your prediction was that he's going to be the highest scoring player this season, though.
Yeah, that was a wild prediction.
Come back to my team. Sorry, that's wild and not the Spurs prediction.
No, yeah,
dude, yeah.
Two things can be wild.
You're just going for hot takes at that point. You're not even rooted in reality.
If you asked me today, like starting from fresh, who I would pick to win the league, I'd still say Spurs. Right now, I think it's between Spurs and Chelsea.
Okay, moving on. We're not. Between Spurs and Chelsea, my guy.
Dude,
that's a big no.
Don't fall into the trap.
Oh man, like I know. I don't even want to talk about it.
I mean, he's obviously thinking of the high caliber of manager that Chelsea have. I mean, Frank Lampard is extremely experienced, and he knows how to lead a team to a title. I mean, that's just a fact there.
He might be the worst manager. He's definitely the worst manager out of the top 6.
No,
I mean, dude, he is learning how to coach a defense. Like how many managers know how to coach a defense? That's such a hard thing to do. That's ridiculous.
All right, I don't want to give C4's crazy picks any more attention, any more airtime here. let's move on. Let's talk about the rest of your team. So Jota is an interesting pick.
Jota, I only brought in because I thought using my wild card, if he went up by 0.2, I could capitalize on gaining that 0.1. It might not happen at this point. It might still. He's at 6.5 now. Because
also,
what I would like to do maybe is then if he goes up to 6.5, I get that extra, or sorry, up to 6.6, I get that extra 0.1. I bring in Foden and double up there with Man City midfield. Then
Jota's been playing really well. I could see Jota like taking over that Salah role for these next few weeks and
would
really
you guys rather
doing
have
a number.
Jota or Foden for the next 8 weeks?
Jota because of the Salah injury.
I would say Jota because with Liverpool's backline looking, all sorts of ways and except organized, they are like so susceptible to conceding so much more than before that they're going to need to score the goals up top to make up for it. So I'm expecting to see some higher scoring Liverpool games because they just need to outscore the opposition rather than grinding out like a 1-0 or a 2-1 win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I would feel better about Jota even not considering Salah's COVID. And I am a Foden owner and believer, but Jota just looked really good ever since he joined.
Okay. So here's where
I like that pick. Wait, we didn't say anything about Grealish and Ziyech, though.
I feel like you can't not have them in your team.
Ziyech you can make more of an argument against, but it's totally a valid pick and one I'm considering as well. And Grealish I love. So I don't like having any objections to that. So I'm cool just leaving it.
So I'd be fine with this as my midfield with the potential bringing in a United player up top or flipping it, whichever way you look at it. Like, take Ziyech out, put, I don't know, like another.
So you want a United player. So let's figure out how we can get you one.
Somehow.
Okay.
But I also
want your front. And then your front 3 are Brewster, Adams, and Kane. Adams we talked about.
I think 2 of those are gone, if not 3.
Who's gone?
I think Brewster and Adams are gone.
So you're gonna jump off the Adams hype train. How come?
Their fixtures do get harder after this. What they have?
Let's see.
Wolves, United, Brighton, Sheffield, Arsenal, Man City.
Yeah.
So that's I would say 1, 2, 3, 4 hard fixtures out of their next.
It's a lot of back and forth. They don't have like a good run of.
And then you
easy
get
or hard
Fulham game, but then you have West Ham, Liverpool, Leeds, Leicester, Arsenal, Villa, United, straight. That's tough.
Rough. And when's Ings expected back? Still a while, right? That was a long-term one. That was like several months potentially. So, I don't know. I still.
I know. I said I was fine keeping McCarthy, but that's because there's still a potential of him getting save points there. Like, it's not really worth worrying about a 4.5 goalkeeper, especially when the alternatives aren't that good. With attacking returns, I think there is cause of concern there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk about Brewster.
Well, I thought it was a shoo-in that he was in my team. He went home from the U21s early with, I think, a hip injury or something. So now it's like, do I take the chance here? Do I leave him on my bench and play a 5-man midfield next week?
I mean, he still is just 4.5.
Yeah.
That's still so attractive for.
It's not like Callum Wilson's healthy right now.
I'd wait for the presser.
I do really like Wilson.
I'd wait for the presser, I think, this week and see if there's anything said about him before the deadline. Because I think as of the recording of this episode, they still haven't given an update on his injury.
So that's as of Wednesday evening here in the United States.
Yeah.
So like middle of the night for you Englanders.
What I'm thinking here is, like, I really want to keep Kane because I have him at 10.5. But I think the smart move is Kane to Warner, Ziyech to either Rashford or Fernandes, and then upgrade to Telles at the back. And then just figure out what to do with Che Adams.
Yeah.
I don't hate that plan at all. I'm really. This is probably partially my personal bias speaking, but I really want either Rashford or Bruno on my team now. So I would tend to lean toward doing the same thing because I'd rather have them than
as someone
Martial.
who dislikes. Yeah, as someone who dislikes United, I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
you got to have one of those two. So it's not just your bias. Like that's very valid.
So my question is there anyone else you'd consider up top?
Like any strikers?
Yeah, Vardy has kind of a nice next
Werner Vardy,
but not. Okay, let's see. I have that. That's 0.6 then. So that's rough. But that's with Fernandes.
I do pretty good.
If I do Rashford, then 1.6. So who can I? I can basically upgrade anyone, right? I could do that perfectly to.
You can do whatever you want, man.
That right to Telles. That's decent. Apart from the fact, then what do I do with Che Adams? Like, who do you replace Che Adams with nothing in the bank and 5.8?
I mean, I don't think you have to replace him yet. I still feel good about him. Somebody's got to score for them, right? And as long as Ings is out,
do they?
Versus
shit, good point. I mean, they were top of the table last week, and they tweeted that great "stop the count" joke. Like, that was awesome.
Versus doing something like this.
Yeah, so just make sure you're announcing what you're doing, just for anyone listening on the podcast.
So the changes were Newcastle defender to Telles. Then we went Ziyech to Rashford, Warner or Kane to Warner. That leaves me 0.4 to upgrade Adams. So what does that even translate into?
You get Bamford in.
I'm not crazy about Bamford though with his fixture.
Neither am I. You get Mitrovic in. He's pretty solid.
Jordan Ayew.
Yeah, you're kind of starved for options there if you don't want Bamford.
Like Arsenal, Everton, Chelsea, West Ham, all in a row.
But the thing is, I mean, Leeds are going to attack those teams.
Mm-hmm.
At least we saw in the first week with the shootout with Liverpool, and then they had the a similar open game against Man City, even though it wasn't as high scoring.
That opening game against Liverpool. That opening game against Liverpool was a lot of fun.
Yeah, what a time to use your triple captain, eh?
Yeah.
Is that still match of the year so far?
Maybe the Chelsea West Brom one. It was 3-0 West Brom and 3-3. But Chelsea, all right, everyone always shits on United for these calls they get. And Chelsea's third goal, the equalizer, was a very blatant handball that they didn't overturn. So that was really frustrating. I don't want to watch that again.
C4, what are you doing here? Explain to the listeners.
I could fit in a 6.4. Well, I was trying to get to 6.5, but
for a striker.
Yeah, but Wilson, I didn't even see he's at 6.6 now. So it's not like I even need to wiggle in another 0.1 there.
No, that would be a 0.2 according to my math.
Can we get a second opinion on that? Because I don't like that answer.
Tomo?
Sorry, I was just reading about the NBA draft.
Cool. Recording podcast time is good for reading.
Yeah, well, the Knicks just picked somebody, so I had to pay attention to what was going on there. And I'm currently still suspended from Twitter, so it's tough. I had to get texts from friends, but
it was just a joke anyway.
What? Oh, okay. Let me see what your team's looking like. So you got Rashford in now and Werner. I like that. I would.
So this is 0.6 in the bank.
I really, really strongly prefer Bruno to Rashford. I know there's a big price difference there, but like.
So now I'm thinking, is it really worth it to have Jota?
What I'm thinking is it really worth it to have Telles? That 5.5.
I think it is. So. He'll be whipping in corners and crosses.
I think Telles could.
5.5 is expensive.
The one downside I do
2 7.0 defenders at the beginning.
And bro, like, is he definitely gonna keep that spot?
Oh, he until Shaw comes back, so he has.
That's what I mean. But when Shaw comes back, is Shaw
going back? When Shaw comes back,
he'll
play 2 games and then get hurt again. So it's you're really fine there.
Okay. I mean, I understand Telles is good, but if you can save there to get Bruno, I think that's overall a net better option.
Look, my logic is if within 4 to 6 weeks he doesn't have that spot nailed down, then he doesn't deserve to be in my FPL team anyways. You don't have to worry about him competing with Shaw.
The only thing I'd be worried about with Telles is that there are the Champions League schedule is pretty tough the next month or so. So it's like, United are playing weekend, midweek for weeks on end now. So I would expect to see him rotated at some point, and I would think that Ollie would want him to play against the big Champions League games and stick like Brandon Williams or Fosu Mensah in at left back for one of the league games against a weaker side.
That is a very good point.
So I would that's why I would kind of lean all other things equal, then I would have Telles in there, but I would just be scared of the potential rotation.
Like, I'm not mad at my defense as is there on the screen.
No, I like it better like that because I think that gives you. I really think the difference between Bruno and Rashford is huge.
So now with 1.6, I could do.
You could do Bruno.
But here's my one other question. I have Ziyech at 8.1. He's 8.2 now. Looks like he might hit 8.3 pretty quickly. Is it worth keeping him there?
At least till the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
See if he rises again.
Like do a last-minute deadline move? Yeah.
Well, even.
Or would you keep him for this game week?
That's what I'm asking. Is it worth it to keep him maybe? Do you think Martial is valid up top?
No, Martial. I love Martial, but he hasn't done anything yet.
He hasn't really hit his stride this season.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he was suspended for a few games, but in the games he has played, he hasn't looked too great.
Chelsea got Newcastle this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Which would be a hard match.
United are home, I think, to West Brom.
Yeah.
It's West Brom.
Yep.
Is it home?
Home.
Yeah.
So that's a better matchup than Chelsea. So maybe you don't wait a week. Maybe you do that right now. I can see Bruno feasting against West Brom.
Yeah, but it's at home, so Bruno's not allowed to score.
He has way more. In fantasy football, they always talk about boom versus bust.
Yeah.
I think he has way more boom potential than Ziyech does. I could see Bruno coming away with a hat trick or something.
So here's my next question. Do you think that's too much spent on a midfield?
No.
I don't think that matters because it's just.
I think it would matter in a normal season, but
with
the weirdness we've seen so far this year, the budget defense looks more and more like a real option.
So you think 3-5-2 is the optimal?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
And then Brewster's just bench fodder then?
Brewster bench fodder, and then, with the 3-5-2, then Bernardo and probably Lewis most weeks, depending on matchups.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I'd lean at least.
Yeah. I like your team besides that. It looks a lot better than mine. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I have 3 players with red cautions and 2 with yellow cautions. So that's great. So I have at least I have the 2 free transfers to try to make something happen. But yeah, I like it, C4.
I'm just wondering about having a West Ham midfielder just because of their fixtures.
I mean, they're all slightly overpriced for what they get. Yeah, I wouldn't say Souček is overpriced actually, but I don't
he's the only one that's at a good price, but he's still not like.
I wouldn't really want him on my team. Yeah. You know what actually might be interesting to look for as a replacement for Adams is Michael Antonio. If Moyes says he's fit in the presser this week, because he was hurt for a few weeks, but he actually would slot right back into the striker spot. And
did his price go down?
I forget if he's decreased in the past few weeks.
6.2 is attractive for Michael Antonio.
Yeah, I know. I've been looking at him as well.
That's a really good shot.
West Ham's been in good form, so I mean he could just pop right back in.
Antonio is everywhere when they play. He's all over the pitch. He's never runs out of energy. He's always touching the ball. Offense really runs through him.
Do you guys think there's an argument to only go with one striker? 4-5-1. You could go really heavy in the midfield.
I gotta be honest. I didn't even know that was an option. I've never considered that.
Probably.
That's crazy.
I wouldn't look at it as a long-term thing, but if there's a week where both 2 of your strikers have really shitty fixtures and the defender has a favorable one, I would certainly consider it.
That's interesting.
I've actually been looking at DCL to Antonio, depending on if he's fit or not for this week, to save some funds and use those in the midfield.
Antonio is a very, very interesting shout.
Yeah, I like Antonio.
Yeah,
that might be the answer.
And then can you still do Bruno then?
If I have 3.1 right now, this is what I think you guys have talked me out of Tellez for now. So if we're just looking up there.
2.5. Yeah,
I like Tellez, but you already have Chilwell. You already have your high-priced defender.
So I think you'll have enough.
Where are you? Bruno?
Bruno's 10.6 right now? Yeah.
Another 0.6.
I just realized I've been very honest and helpful in my thoughts on your team. I should have just tried to fuck you over here, so I could finish above you.
You're not that good at fantasy.
Honest and helpful.
I didn't say it was great advice. I just said I was trying. I could have tried to fuck you over.
So honest and helpful is probably good, Tomo, because at least in my opinion, from what I've seen, is that the weeks that you forget to set your team, they somehow do really, really well. So I'm hoping you remember to set your team for the rest of the season.
Dude, I do so much better when I forget.
So this team as is would have 0.2 in the bank.
Yeah, I mean, depending on Antonio, I would consider that.
And that could be enough to say Salah's back really early. Just, maybe a quick up to him.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if I don't want a 4.3 defender, upgrade Lewis to another 4.5.
Also a possibility. Yeah, I would. This is probably the favorite team for me that you've put together tonight. As long as I'll say that again, as long as Antonio's fit for this weekend.
So who knows? Maybe try to capitalize still on a ZH price rise. Get that in.
Yeah. I would just keep an eye on the price rises and make sure you're not missing out on anyone.
Yeah.
Which actually,
one thing I want to talk about, not related to your team. Are we done with your team?
Yeah, I think we're good now.
I like it. Do you want to read it one more time in full for people listening?
So the final team that we set was Steer, McCarthy in net, Target, Bernardo, Chilwell, Lewis, and Kufal in the back line, Grealish, Fernandes, Mane, De Bruyne, Jota in midfield, and then Brewster, Antonio, and Werner up top with 0.2 in the bank.
I like it. That's strong. I like it.
So, and the one thing I will add right now is we just mentioned price rises. That the only price rise tonight was that Lamptey went up to 4.8, and there were no drops tonight, so he's getting more expensive.
That's good. I have him. I'll take that. Yeah, I like it.
You want to talk about?
I want to talk about Christian Pulisic. Do we have an update on when he's expected to be back? I know he's definitely missing this weekend's match against Newcastle, but I brought him in right minutes before the deadline and then saw he wasn't playing. So now I have to figure out if I'm going to hold on to him or what. Because I might just swap him with Ziyech. I have Salah that I want to get rid of. I have Pulisic that I want to get rid of potentially, and I have Jimenez that I want to get rid of.
I'm just looking at who's on your team right now.
But I'm not in a rush to get rid of Jimenez. Southampton and Arsenal back to back. Not awful. I could wait like a week or two.
I wouldn't take the -4 for that.
Yeah.
Okay, you have Ryan
I think I definitely need to do Pulisic and Mane out this week.
And Salah,
and Pulisic and Salah, and maybe
you definitely make a midfield change.
I think I'm going to downgrade Salah to Bruno, and then Pulisic over to Ziyech, and then have that little bit of money in the bank to next week do Jimenez up to Werner or Vardy.
Sorry, do you have 1 or 2 free transfers?
2. So this week I'm going to take care of Salah and Pulisic because they're both not playing and both potentially for several weeks.
Can you not do Salah to KDB and then Pulisic to a United defender?
To a United
midfielder?
I might be able to do Salah and Pulisic to Bruno and KDB. That'd be powerful. Let me see if I can do that. I would like that. Sorry, we're kind of going off the we didn't have a script for this week, so we're just chilling. Taz usually brings the script, so that's why we didn't get it this time.
He's lost. He normally hand delivers it, and he's just lost somewhere.
Let's see here. How much is Bruno worth? Oh, I'm short. I would need to. Yeah, I'm 0.4 short of making that happen.
I mean, Rashford's not a bad option.
I just think the difference between him and Bruno is so vast, and I would rather spend in the 8s on Ziyech, Pulisic when he's healthy versus in the 9s for a Rashford. Okay, I think they're pretty comparable, and I'll save the million.
If I were you, then I'd go with Ziyech and KDB.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do for this week, and then maybe take a hit next week, or yeah. I would love to have Bruno, man. I would really love to have Bruno on my team somehow.
It's tough. Man City pictures are about to turn around.
Oh, dude, Man City's got Spurs this week, and then Burnley, Fulham back to back. I have to have KDB for that. Burnley, Fulham back to back.
Aguero being healthy could throw a huge wrench in my plans.
When's that expected?
Well, before the international break, they said right after the international break, but I haven't seen any update.
I will look right now. 2 days ago, according to Goal.com, Man City receive injury boost as Aguero, Fernandinho, and Sterling all hope to be ready for Tottenham return. Pep Guardiola's first team crisis is easing. I love the way some of these articles are written. It's so dramatic.
I really like Aguero.
I know you do.
Aguero,
but he's got to slow down at some point, man. He's got to slow down at some point.
Yeah, but I'd rather be late to that party I'd rather be early to him going off than late to getting rid of him.
I still think you mixed that up somehow. That's a tough sentence to say.
Early to him going off?
Yeah.
Versus being late to him
playing well.
No, him being shit.
Oh, dude, you confused me with the phrasing of that so much. Let's just move on. I know your idea, though. I got your idea, but
I gotta be
phrasing of it.
Early for the party and then miss the party.
Okay. Okay. Gash, you have any final little things that you might have noticed or want to bring up?
No, just I guess captains this week. I'm thinking of captaining Rashford against West Brom is my biggest shout at the moment. So we'll see if that holds, but that's kind of where my mind is right now.
What's your thinking behind that? Why do you want to do
that? West Brom are shit, and United are playing at home, and Marcus Rashford is a MBE. He's a member of the British Empire, so I can't go against
future Prime Minister.
Yes, he's almost the current PM, but not quite.
Is he your only United asset? You don't have Bruno, right?
No, I don't have Bruno.
Okay. Who else would you look at besides Rashford?
Bruno.
If I do a Salah to Mane,
Yeah.
then Mane.
I'd
guess.
still go Rashford there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, probably just between those two at the moment.
Are a lot of people picking him, or is that kind of a differential shot? I haven't seen any hype, but I also haven't been on the subreddit in a couple of days.
Sorry, who did you just say?
Is anybody? Is there like a hype train for Rashford as captain this week?
There's a hype train for Vardy.
Okay. So maybe I get Vardy in this week instead. But then I need to take care of the injuries. Okay.
My 3
Who's your
picks
captain?
would be, I'd probably go Werner against Newcastle. Then, I'm just naming 3: Werner, Fernandes, and then maybe DCL.
Mm.
If I had to pick one, it's a Man United asset versus West Brom.
Yeah. If I had one on my team, I would also take a Man United asset, and I might get one on my team by then. So if I have to make an official pick here, I'll go with Bruno. Although I don't have him, we'll see. Maybe I get him instead of KDB this week, and then worry about KDB in like a week or two.
Yeah, I can see that because
next week in time for that Burnley
Or maybe
fixture.
you make the change in midfield to get a United and Chelsea asset there, but then you bring in a City asset up top with like Jesus or Aguero.
I don't like Jesus or Aguero that much. I would rather have Vardy over both of them in a comparable price range. Vardy's like right between them, right? Like Aguero's a little higher priced and Jesus a little lower.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would like to have Vardy instead. All right, boys, let's wrap it up here. So we got our captain picks. Bruno for me, Rashford for Gasch, and C4, you said Bruno as well. Okay. Anything else? We're good to go. All right. Do we get any fan questions? I posted asking for them. Real quick, see if anybody answered us.
I tweeted out too. I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yep, nothing. All right, no fan questions. Guys, give us some fan questions. Give us something to talk about, please. Yeah, all right, so that wraps it up for this week's episode. Make sure you're following us on Instagram and Twitter at Fpl Hotline, and follow us on Spotify and subscribe on YouTube as well to get the notifications when we drop new episodes. They usually come out sometime between now and the morning. So what is that, like Thursday morning for you England folks, and middle of the night between Wednesday and Thursday for you Americans and Canadians. Yeah, but that's it. Thanks for coming on, C4 and Gash. Taz, you know, our thoughts are with him.
I think he was pretty.
He's fine. He's fine. What'd you say?
I think he was pretty insightful this week.
Yeah, Taz really added a lot.
Yeah, best episode he's been in, actually.
So shout out Taz if you're listening. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
See ya.